Welcome back to another episode of Nick and Des with Controlled Chaos. Said it backwards, but we'll go with it. I am Des. Desiree is my full name, Des for short. I wanted to have a discussion today. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 1996, and before that, I would end up in the emergency room suspiciously with the stomach flu. But emergency rooms aren't to diagnose, they're to patch you up and get you out, which I understand. But it took a long time for my doctor to get me in to see a gastro specialist. And so finally, I was had to go through a bunch of different tests and they figured out what it was. I'm sorry if you hear me playing with these. These are my mallet bracelet beads that I use. And Nick calls it my kitchen sink because it's got everything on there. So if you hear it, I'm playing with them. There's, I would end up in the emergency quite often, and so much so that the check-in people actually knew me by name, and that's not good. They knew me by on site and by name. So, but the doctor that diagnosed me left the healthcare practice after a while, and but he still worked at the hospital that I would end up in when I went to the emergency room. And a couple times I was in the emergency room, they're like, "Who's your doctor?" And I, him, as he walked by. And so he would take care of me when I was admitted to the hospital and everything. The Crohn's disease, it affects the entire digestive tract from mouth to back end. And when I was diagnosed, I had it in my small intestines and my large intestines. So my lowest weight, I was in the hospital, I was 83 pounds. I stand 5'5", and I've got some notes here that so I don't miss anything that I wanted to talk about. I had to go through a bunch of tests, colonoscopy, barium study. I had at one point I had to go through and swallow a camera and have it tracked through my entire body. Um, just a lot. And then after I lost the doctor that diagnosed me, I went through doctor after doctor after doctor. It was just so frustrating. I would see somebody and then I'd see them a couple times and I call to make an appointment and all of a sudden he's not with us anymore. So I had to find a new doctor. And it was just frustrating. Um, I was on so much medication before it was ridiculous. I had mainly the pain meds that they were throwing at me were ridiculous. I also had really bad cramps for my cycle, and I had a specialist taking care of that. And so he took care of my pain medicine levels. At one point, I was on Dilaudid and I had fentanyl patches, and still be able to be up and drive and everything. I was sober, and it was ridiculous. I took myself off the fentanyl patches because I didn't like the way they made me feel towards the end of the medication time to turn over. But when I was in the hospital, they're like, you take that and that, and yeah. Uh, then I went through and had a hysterectomy, and so therefore I had to be weaned off my pain medication. So the doctor sent me to a detox specialist because I wasn't addicted, I was dependent. And so I went through all of that, and now I'm still on an opioid, but nothing compared to like Oxycontin or something like that. It's just tramadol, which is a low dose of pain medication. But recently I've had to take more than I needed to previously because I'm dealing with stomach issues again, and I have to go in for a downscope on the 28th of this month. Um, when I was diagnosed, they gave me a list of items that I could eat and a list of items that I can't eat. And then I had to go through and figure out my triggers of what made me feel worse when I was eating. And it turns out I only had two, which are onions and black pepper. White pepper, for some reason, I'm good with, but black pepper, excruciating pain. Um, sorry, I got notes so I remember not what I want to say. But when I was at my worst, they put me on the brat diet, which is bananas, rice, applesauce, and toast. And I could, if I wanted to pop, it was either I had to have either 7 Up or Sprite. So I don't touch those anymore because at my worst, that was all I could have. And every time I would go to the emergency room, they would take an X-ray. So finally, after a while, my doctor's like, "You cannot have any more X-rays. You're doing too much. They're going to have to do something else to see what's going on with you because you're having too much radiation." Um, so that that was just that really freaked me out. Um, if they always told me that if I can't eat anything, just grab a big old tablespoon of peanut butter and eat that because that would get at least get some protein into me. Um, Also, I'm lactose intolerant, so no Boost or Ensure because they both have lactose in them, and it would just come right back out, unfortunately. But my cousin is a nurse, and she told me about the Boost Breeze. I want to say it's uh, basically a juice box. So I started drinking those to help get the vitamins and everything in me. At one point, I was on an infusion medication called Remicade, and my first dose of that with no insurance was $3,000. That had to come out of pocket. But I wrote to the company and told them I can't do this. My insurance isn't covering it, so they helped me out a lot. They got it for me for free, and I would just have to go into the doctor's office and sit for an infusion over a certain amount of time. So I would take a book or a movie and lay there and watch. Um, it was good for about 3 years. I was in remission. I was up to 120 pounds. I was between 125 and 130. So I was healthy or weight and everything. But that didn't last forever, and we I ended up in the emergency room, and they determined that I was having an allergic reaction to the Remicade, so I couldn't have it anymore. My body has really, really weird system where it will be fine with something for a while, then all of a sudden, whoop, you can't have this anymore. because one of my medications I was on sent me into pancreatitis, which is not fun. Because I went through pancreatitis, they gave me a test called an ERCP, but they did not warn me that the dye in that can cause pancreatitis. And guess who got pancreatitis in the recovery room? Yeah, me. And I thought that was the worst pain I've ever been through. No. February, I had kidney stones, and those, oh, I was the patient that every nurse did not want to have. But I was going through so many doctors that I just decided, well, I'll deal with it through the emergency room because I didn't know what else to do. But my better half found out about a doctor and he told me to go see him. And finally, I made the appointment. I went in and I saw him. And my first appointment, are you going anywhere anytime soon? He's like, no. I said, well, I've just been through so many doctors. I lost count from them leaving and me having to find somebody else. And he's like, no, no, I'm going to be here. And so far he has. He takes really good care of me. He got me into somewhat of a remission. And I've been feeling under the weather, so I got to go in for a downscope on the 28th, like I said. And it got to a point where I had to go on disability for my Crohn's because my last job before I went on disability cut me down to 4 hours a week. Yeah, 4 hours a week because they said I was unreliable because I kept ending up in the emergency room and then admitted to the hospital. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to stick around for 4 hours of work a week. It costs me more money to drive to my job than to sit, go for disability. And I did not get it the first time. I had to get a lawyer and fight it. And they will send you the same paperwork. It feels like every week or 2 weeks you will get a packet in the mail and you have to fill it all out and just fill it all out, continue to fill it all out. And I fought and I was lucky enough to win to get on disability for this because stress is no good for really anybody, but it sends me into a flare when I am too stressed out. And so, luckily, like I said, I was able to get on disability and take care of all. I've been doing really good with my system, but lately it's been if I make dinner, if Nick and I make dinner, I'll either get really nauseated and at the smell of it, or when I'm dishing my plate, I'll take one bite and then it's like, no. So there's obviously something going on. I've lost a little bit of weight, I can tell. So hopefully I'll find something out after the downscope. But if you're getting any kind of symptoms, like you're constantly throwing up or constantly having the other situation, get checked out, please. It's for your own good. Um, I have to go through a colonoscopy every 2 years because of having Crohn's disease, and my dad had colorectal cancer, which he beat, but having that in the family, I have to have one of those tests every 2 years. And I just really want to have a discussion. If you have anything you want to ask me, put it in down in comments. I'd love to be able to talk about it. I can do this maybe once a month, or if you want more often, that would be great too. Because I've had this a long time, and I just want everybody to be careful, get checked out, please. It's very important for your health. So I'm going to let it go here. I will see you again soon. Hopefully on track, feeling better. And for Controlled Chaos, I'm Des, and see you again soon.